Hello and welcome to the Dinosaw for week 45, another 7 curious interesting things I saw last week. So let's crack on. The first one is Microsoft's vision of the Metaverse. So you've seen Meta, or ex-Facebook's version last week, and this is what Microsoft have up their sleeves. So check it out on their website, there are lots more things on there, but essentially what this is their version of Teams, really, in the Metaverse. So what they say is you can spark creativity and foster serendipitous connections. And don't worry, there is PowerPoint involved as well. Yeah, productivity apps where you can join with your colleagues and you can have meetings. Now you're supposed to do this through your VR headsets or your HoloLens if you have one of those, but also your mobile phone, your laptop, and any device using any connection. That's the whole point of it. Now hopefully this will also connect to all the other metaverses out there, so the Metaverse and the Facebook Metaverse, or whatever you want to call it. Obviously if it doesn't, it's not really the Metaverse, so we'll see where this is going, but you can create your avatar, you can transfer it between your experiences and all that good stuff. So check it out. This may be where you are interacting with your virtual fellows in the future using PowerPoint. This is Zero Motorcycles. Now they're one of the pioneers in electric motorcycles. This does not have an engine. Now they have what they call a cipher store. So I've just noticed this, and they have several levels of cipher store based on how much you can upgrade your motorcycle. So this is the top one. This is their cipher store 3. And basically what this means is they can ship you a motorbike, you buy it, and then you have to then pay more. Obviously this is what people like Tesla do already, but you have to pay more to upgrade for basically features it already has built in. So you've got, for instance, 10% faster charge, there's sat nav on the dash, and also parking mode, which is actually quite cool because it'll actually go into reverse, which is pretty much unheard of on bikes. However, you need to spend $600 to get those things. So I'm not quite sure I agree with this sort of thing. If it's got the stuff in there, just sell it to me in the first place, rather than deactivate it, then sell it, and then ask me to activate it later. Now, where I thought this was interesting is obviously you've got law enforcement and governments also trying to enforce things like speed limits, especially in urban centres. So if you can instantly give somebody extra charging or extra speed from their engine, you can surely remove it as well. So this is one more kind of nod towards this will probably be something that happens by a government in the future. Now with a motorbike, obviously if you cut the power or the speed around a corner or something like that, you'll probably end up in a hedge because you'll unbalance yourself and wobble off. Yeah, let's see where this one goes, but I thought that was interesting. It's the start. Facebook have announced they are shutting down face recognition. Now why are they doing this? Obviously there's a growing backlash, and maybe they're just starting to use their Meta rebrand to clean up all the slightly shady places they've found themselves in with Facebook. What this really means is, you know, when you upload a photo to Facebook, it can automatically recognize whether your friends are in it, and it can tag them, for instance, or likewise if your friends are in photos, it can kind of use the algorithm to draw you towards that post or that thread or whatever. So they're shutting all that down. If you've already said you're okay with face recognition, it doesn't matter, they're going to take that away, and also retrospectively as well. So any photo that's had facial recognition on it will actually have that removed. Now, so fair enough, that's kind of good, kind of like where that's going. It's also in the news as a company called Clearview AI, which are not connected to Facebook in this story at least. And what they've done is they hit the news quite regularly, because what they do is they scrape public photos. So whether you've said yes to it or not, they've probably been onto the website, and if they found a face, they've scraped it and they use it in essentially their own database. And lots of law enforcement companies have been using that database to identify people. So the Australian court obviously are not happy about this, so they've just ordered them to remove any face that has been gained from an Australian source to be removed from the Clearview AI database. So more of this is going on. Governments are coming after it, law enforcement is coming after it as well, and also you're finding big players like Meta are also doing it voluntarily. So that's where this is going, which is good. Peloton have announced their first partnership. This is with Delta Airlines, and it's probably not what you think. It's not a couple of bikes at the back of the airplane to get sweaty halfway through your flight. And this is just using their sort of coaches and video part of their service. So this is, for instance, instance, to help you stretch during your flight and to relax or possibly nod off to sleep. So this will be all delivered through the backs of your seat, the video, but it's more and more of this kind of health/lifestyle creeping into partnerships in other places as well. So Peloton have had a little bit of a crappy time in their shares, should we say, and their value. So they're obviously exploring more things outside of their core platform. So you will see more of that, and there are other platforms out there. So this kind of health lifestyle thing is obviously growing and moving at pace. So this is Unreal Metahumans. This is not new. This has been around for probably a year, I think, possibly less. Metahumans is almost like a 3D character creator from Unreal Engine, who are the powers of lots of games and also movies as well. So what this allows you to do is create a human form. Now, animating that human form is something slightly different. You usually need quite accurate mocap stuff. Now, that's actually really just an FBX file. So enter stage left Move.ai, and now they're a specialist in just using cameras, so no mocap lasers and whatnot. They're just using cameras, and as you can see from the probably on my face is probably over it actually. There is a dancer on just basically doing their thing, and it's being automatically converted into the right format. So it's just made motion capture and 3D animation of characters super easy. That's basically the reason why I'm doing this. It used to be quite a difficult thing, but now you can do it. There you go. There is a new LED on the block. Now these are called perovskite LEDs. I think I've said that right. So why is this interesting? Well, there are two types of LED. There's organic and inorganic. So for instance, organic LEDs are made from polymers, and they can be stretched, for instance, and they can be manipulated and bent. So all of this kind of foldable screens you're seeing are usually OLEDs, organic LEDs. Now the problem is the more you do that, the more they break, so they are relatively fragile. However, inorganic LEDs are usually semiconductor based. They're super bright, but they just don't bend, but they last for ages. So what they call PeLEDs, I think they're called, basically they mix both the worlds. So they are stretchable and bright, and they last a long time. Why is this cool? Well, there's two really cool party tricks going on here. One is they are printable. So what you can see, this WUSTL, which is Washington University of St. Louis, that's been printed with an inkjet printer. So you can actually print LEDs onto really novel substrates like rubber or material or plastic or all sorts of things. So that's going to revolutionize things like car interiors, LEDs for display, whatever, on clothing, or all sorts of things. They can be irregular, they can be all sorts of shapes. The second thing that's really interesting is the actual LEDs themselves are stretchable. So with organic LEDs, even though you can stretch them, the LEDs themselves remain the same size, but maybe the rubber thing that you printed onto them can stretch, whereas this one, the actual LEDs stretch themselves. So imagine a postage stamp screen that you can stretch up to an iPhone screen or a phone size screen, or a phone to a tablet. It will do that. So that's kind of really interesting. What would you do with completely stretchable screens or displays? There you go, those are kind of cool. And finally, we have the Museum of Forgeries. Now this is an art collective called Mischief, I guess that is. And what they've done is they've got an Andy Warhol sketch, which is worth $20,000, and they've replicated it using a plotter, so it actually uses a pen. So it's almost indistinguishable from the original. And what they've done is they've then artificially aged it and added all the kind of the weird stuff to the paper, so you cannot tell which one the original is and which one are one of the 999 forgeries. So people then just rocked up and paid $250 for what they think is an original, but you will never know. So I just thought this was really interesting. They've used this kind of digital device to recreate these, but it's almost a complete basically go at NFTs, which obviously you have an artwork which has absolute provenance, which is provable through a blockchain, whereas this one, they've eradicated the provenance using digital technology. I think that's absolutely brilliant. So well done. Just thought I'd do and finally, well done. They've got an app, by the way, you can sign up to, and if you want to basically get involved in other art exhibitions that they've got, you can find out through their app, which is amazing. So well done. Hopefully that was useful, hopefully that was interesting, and I will see you again next week.